Hi, I am working on a new game with the working title The Big Forest. It's set in a big mystical forest and has a strong focus on exploration. I spent the last third of 2023 working on the procedurally generated landscape of the game, and in this video you can see an overview of that progress. I'm Rune Skovbo Johansen, and this is Runevision. It all started back in 2016, where I made a proof of concept of a procedural landscape. The landscape stretches on infinitely and is generated on the fly in chunks. A novel feature compared to many other similar projects is that I used pathfinding for creating natural-looking paths through the landscape. On my blog you can find a post about how to do that, link in the description. I soon put the project on hold in order to start work on my VR game Eye of the Temple. In 2023, after the Quest version of Eye of the Temple was released, I resumed work on the landscape again. I implemented a way to vary the colors of the grass and trees throughout the landscape without needing separately colored models. I do this by removing green color from the textures, making those parts of the textures grayscale. I keep track of which pixels had color removed. This way I can use a shader to add color back again in any shade I want. While testing this, I used rainbow colors, but the intention for the actual game is that different areas will use different color palettes. I also spent a lot of time on multi-threading and other optimizations, but it's not so easy to show. After the color test, I worked on the height function to make the landscape more mountainous. And I went back to more natural colors and spent some time tweaking them. I made them more muted high up in the mountains than in the valleys. Then I began on a new feature, water streams. In the beginning it looked rather unnatural, but everything has to start somewhere. The water gullies looked better once I implemented a simple 1D fake erosion pass on the water streams. It just randomly lowers each point along the water towards the height of the next point. Since the landscape around the water is adjusted to match its height, it looks like the ground is eroded. It also helped that I made the width of the water more narrow the faster the water flows. Next, I worked on improving the water shader itself. I implemented water transparency and improved the foam. I had a breakthrough when I realized that foam starts out crisp and then diffuses out into a creamy blur. I found a way to hack the shading model so I could make shadows work on the water and even make them appear to be offset by the moving waves and foam. By the way, in this footage I added the water sound in post. I hadn't yet found a way to add sound to the water in-game. I used the same shading tricks from earlier to create some faked fluffy foam particles that looked as though they are 3D shapes. And then I worked on a complete overhaul of how the water foam looks. It now better reflects that foam is particularly formed at the bottom of waterfalls and drops, not always at the top. But enough of that. I needed to find a solution for water sounds. Emitting sound from a non-spherical object is non-trivial to begin with, and for water streams with waterfalls, the sound changes drastically along it as well. I implemented a system to do it with just 4 audio sources, because I happen to have 4 sound clips of different water intensities. It dynamically calculates direction, volume and spread for each of the 4 sounds based on a kind of audio point cloud. So far, so good. But the placement of the water streams in the landscape still look pretty weird in a lot of cases. You see, I don't make the water just find a way downhill. I want to make use of water deliberately as part of the game's level design, so I explicitly control where it goes from and to. And I use pathfinding to find a path where the water doesn't have to go uphill. But then it sometimes ended up just going sideways along a cliffside, like here, and that looks wrong. But I had success with lowering a given point in the water stream to the lowest nearby point within a 5-meter radius in order to prevent water streams flowing at dubious elevated paths. And then I placed quaint little planks and bridges over the water. This was actually pretty complicated. It was a lot of work ensuring the path is level on both sides, that the bridges are orthogonal to the water, and that the required deformation doesn't look too unnatural. I love the end result though. After that, I spent some more time on optimization with mixed results. I don't want to go into that. But the last improvement of the year was to integrate tone mapping. I had to retrig the lighting and fog and skybox, but then it looked really nice. Especially the scenic views where you can see the landscape in the distance. And that's it. If you want to learn more about the game, see the links in the description. If you like this video, you can click the like button, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing. Till next time, bye!